Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia. I'm here to do a reading for us today. It's going to be a shadow reading, so our relationship to our shadow self and what our shadow might need us to know right now. And I just wanted to bring in Stevie again. This is my little bird, Stevie. He's a green sheet conure, and I adopted him from Oregon Humane Society. It's going on 10 years that we've been kind of partners in crime, and he has tested me every step of the way with his needs and his voice and his loudness, often when I can't deal with the noise, but he wants to shriek. So it's been a really wonderful lesson for me to learn how to let him be who he is, and also try to teach him at times certain things that would help me out. And it's just an interesting relationship, and I love and cherish him. And he's always in the background of my readings, either chirping or quietly observing, but I like to include him. I just have to be careful. I don't want him to poop on my layout table here. That's just sort of because I want to respect this space and not allow that to happen in a space like this. I mean, whatever. You know, maybe I'm overthinking things, but so I wanted to do a shadow reading today, and a kind of a continuation on the themes that have come up lately in a couple of my readings regarding crime. And I have a card reader and psychic intuitive that I follow on here, the Painted Lady Tarot. She just did a layout yesterday that was really interesting and sort of going into the mind of the Gilgo Beach murderer and or alleged murderer, I guess. I think it's pretty clear he's probably guilty, but and it was a really interesting layout, and it inspired me to do a shadow reading. And also just a lot of the themes that came up when I was in my own psyche this morning when I was thinking about this again is sort of just the complexities of policing, and how when there's a predator like this in the community, we want the police to rescue us, right? We want detectives to investigate, get to the bottom of it, make an arrest, and incarcerate the murderer. And for someone like me, that's a complex notion because I'm an abolitionist, and yet I don't want serial killers to be walking freely among the population either, you know. And I was listening to one of the jurors from the Lori Vallow trial talk about how impassioned he became in his role on that jury at a time when, oh, by the way, happy Juneteenth. This leads right into this because during all of the uprisings around George Floyd and Breonna Taylor in the streets in 2020, this trial was playing out. And this trial and Chad Daybell's trial have been evidence of how powerful good investigative work can be, from the FBI to local police, and detective work and deductive reasoning. And it really played out. It's playing out in this way that, at least for me, feels very just and has helped me check myself somewhat around, you know, somebody like my great uncle Glenn, who was a detective in Vancouver, and he was involved in solving a murder of a woman who disappeared downtown Vancouver. And there were two brothers who ended up being charged for her murder. And they were neighbors to my dad and my aunt growing up in downtown Vancouver. And they were notorious brothers. They came from an abuse history. They became abusers. They were both hanged, or at least one was hanged in the state of Washington. They received the death penalty for that murder. And my uncle was the lead investigator on that case. He found her, or I don't know if he found her, but he was at the scene where she was found. I believe it was in Wind River, up in the gorge. And so it was just prompting a lot of reflection from me, especially this juror's commentary, and my friends, or my sort of respected tarot readers, the Painted Lady reading yesterday kind of all came together for me in this great way about how complex it is to be, for me anyways, so grateful to the investigators that did such an effective job of investigating and bringing down Chad and Lori Daybell. And but also the weird complex layers, because in the Rex Hoyerman case, there's a lot of suspicion, rightly so, that police were involved in his behavior and murders, and that they were a part of covering up some of the murders. So it's complicated, right? I mean, that's an understatement. that juror's perspective on the police work that was done in the investigation of the missing kids and Tammy Daybell is to be commended. It was great police work. But then we have to ask, like, had that been George Floyd's family, would they have gotten that kind of deep level of resource and investigation and commitment? Do Black children that go missing get that? So there's a lot of layers there that I just want to honor and speak to, and say as well, happy Juneteenth. And the way that timing works, because like in the story of Juneteenth, part of that is when the news finally arrived to the freed slaves, or freed enslaved people, and timing and how time involves something like that. Kay and Larry Woodcock were kind of the lone people demanding that somebody look for their grandson, JJ, who was missing, and who knows what would have happened had they not been as persistent as they would have been. Like, you know, so there's just a lot of like, time was a big factor as well in that crime, as well as the weird reality that people experience where they can sleep in bed next to someone for years and really not know who they are. Tammy Daybell's a great example. She gave birth to 5 of Chad Daybell's children. She slept next to him. They raised, they were together for 20 some years, and yet he murdered her and had no remorse in a very cold-blooded way. So I just want to, I guess, speak to some of that because they're themes that are really interesting. I'm incredibly fascinated by true crime. I'm glad that there's a psychologist that I follow on the Hidden True Crime podcast, and his take, which I 100% agree with as a licensed social worker, is that to be interested in true crime and to study the criminal mind is to understand ourselves. By trying to other criminal mindsets, we put ourselves at risk for not looking into our own shadow. So that leads me to this layout today, which is, what is something that your shadow may be trying to tell you? When we can have the courage to listen to our shadow and attend to it and try to care for it and better integrate it, we become more whole people, right? And healthy people. I've had to do a lot of soul searching about my own dark sides and I think I'm a pretty decent person, but, Stevie's a great example, my little conure. There was one time where, I've had real challenges when he's shrieking and shrieking and shrieking in the house, and it's deafening, piercing, and I'm already distressed for some reason. Like, that can really put me to the test about how do I really feel about this little creature that I agreed to take on and take care of and spend the rest of his life. He's a very long-lived little bird. So it's just something like that. Like, I had to really look inside, like, what is it with my shadow that wants to force this little bird not to act in his own nature? I knew I was getting a bird that would speak and have a lot to say, and that's what hookbills do. They're vocal creatures. They're social creatures. Like, who am I to get this creature and then demand that it be different, right? So something like that is a great example of going into your shadow and really working with it and facing it and not trying to pretend like it's not there and pretend that you're a saint, right? That's not healthy. That's where people get to the mindsets of Chad and Lori Daybell. It's a great example. So without any further ado, I'll just go ahead and get into this shadow reading for us. What does your shadow want you to know? Maybe a dark aspect of shadow or an inner child shadow, either way. What is something that your shadow is trying to communicate, or what is something that your shadow, how can you integrate your relationship with the shadow aspect of yourself right now that's in play? And that might be creating challenges for you, like blind spots or charged emotions that don't seem to match the circumstances, things like that. Our shadow works in really complex ways in our psyche. What should you know? Thank you for being here, and thank you for your continued support of my channel. I'm going to be doing a surprise specifics layout here soon. I already chose the person. So I'll probably do that tomorrow or the next day, depending. Maybe even tonight if I feel like it. So check that out. That's a new playlist for if you've made a comment on some of my content, you might get selected for me to do a layout for you. It's a layout that I would be sharing to the channel, but without identifying you personally, unless you specifically ask me not to share it to the channel. in which case I would just share it with you. Your privacy would be protected, though. If I share it to the channel, I would not be identifying you and who you are. So just know that as well. It's my way of thanking people for engaging with my content. It's important for YouTube. If you want to kind of grow your channel, you've got to find ways to have people engage with you. And I personally enjoy engagement like that. Okay, enough. Let's get into the layout. Let's tap in. Shadow reading for us. Thank you for being here. I've got to keep an eye on my bird because he's out here. So, gosh, let's see. So right off the bat, I'm noticing that we have a 4, 5, 6 combination here. So that can indicate to me a progression. And we were talking about time. So there might be a process that you're in now in your psyche that is progressing in some way related to your shadow self. There's also 2 5s here. So 55 might mean something to you, as well as a 10. So 5, 5, and 10. So this is for folks who like numbers. 10s have been big in my layouts lately. Progressions of 10s, multiples of 10s, 10, 10. So those numbers might have meaning for you. So this column over here is going to represent your conscious mind. This is our shadow side, and this is how to integrate what your shadow is needing and trying to get your attention about. So you're conscious of the fact that you really need to rest. You've been through something that's really put you to the test emotionally, and you feel fatigued and in a need to kind of go into a rest mode and really protect yourself and your healing and protect something to do with you. We can pull more clarifiers if we need to. But you're feeling pretty emotionally wiped out and fatigued. And in your heart center, you're worried about being abandoned or being left out in the cold. And you might be worried about your finances literally, or you might be worried about emotional abandonment. It could be one or the other. It may be both. Often those two things are linked. And here is also kind of a progression as well from just this 4, 5. So you're not in an energy that feels invigorated or active or joyful right now necessarily. You're kind of feeling like you need to go within, protect yourself. There's a colonial saying called circle the wagons, which isn't the greatest saying, but it's one that's in our vernacular, right? And it's a phrase that's coming up. So that might have some meaning for you, something to do with wagons or wagon wheels. Anyways, this is your conscious mind set right now. Your shadow is in a pretty impassioned and active state right now. So I can see why you're feeling a lot of inner conflict. What your shadow wants you to do is drive forward from a place of unchecked fire energy, which can show up like lust. It can show up like rage. It can show up like a super intense creative idea that goes up in smoke and isn't very long in duration. Like it can be anything like that. I love how it's shown in this deck, which is a Wolverine, which Wolverines are essential to an ecosystem, but they're not to be messed with. They're small and fierce. You just don't want to tangle with a Wolverine. And so I love that representation of something happening in your shadow. So in spite of the fact that you may be resting and having an anxiety about being abandoned or your personal safety in some way, your shadow is somewhat infuriated by this circumstance and might be trying to get you to take some kind of an action from impulse because it's in this really intense state of experience around what you're going through. You probably feel this. You may feel it in your body, like while you're trying to calm down, you may be struggling with thoughts that are like, fuck that person, or what, trying to keep stirring you up even though you're trying to rest. It could look something like that. It could look something like wanting to take impulsive actions that you know are not really great for you, but the urge is really powerful right now. The heart of your shadow wants you to make some kind of a move or plan or offer. Your shadow might be trying to get you to make contact with someone, and you in your conscious mind are not open to that. You're trying not to, but your shadow wants you to reach out and to try to negotiate around this anxiety of abandonment. Your shadow's saying, well, let's talk, get going. Do something about it then. If you don't want to be abandoned, do something. Pick a fight. Stir the pot, right? Like your shadow's not happy with or it's frustrated with your desire to try to rest and nurture these fears of your heart. Your shadow's like, what are you doing? Reach out, try to fix it. Try to, it doesn't like this restful period. That's kind of what it's struggling with. The way to kind of integrate these two ideas, the central base part of this is the 10 of Pentacles. So the reality is that you're in an abundant place, but your conscious mind may not see that. And your shadow self might be afraid that you're going to lose the abundance and trying to get you to act on this 5 of Pentacles anxiety that you're feeling, when in reality, you're in an abundant position. Maybe or you're going to be coming into an abundant position because you are willing to rest and take a time out, even when your shadow is trying to get you to do something, right? This is what's coming through. You're actually in a really good position, but there's still some inner conflict and battle going on between you and your shadow aspect of self with this 5 of Swords. What's interesting is that where things are headed is an integrated energy of a Lover's card. So to me, this means integrating these two parts of yourself. Partly, I'm sensing by recognizing that you are abundant. You may need to shift your view a little bit to see where your abundance is. For example, don't have a lot of cash right now because I've made this life move of going into my own practice and a bunch of other moves that I made. I went from a place of financial abundance to a place of coin scarcity. That's my reality right now. However, I'm generating successfully some new things for myself. And I don't know where I was going with that. I was going to tell that story. That story was going somewhere. Just that you can't get into a scarcity mindset. That's probably part of it. Integrating both sides of myself around making this decision is that's what it was. I might be cash poor, as they say, but I have a lot of abundance around me. I live in a really beautiful setting. I have if not complicated, it's complicated where I live. There's emotional challenges to navigate living here, always. But I have a safe place to lay my head for the most part. I have my food and my basic shelter, my Maslow's hierarchy needs met, which is more than a lot of the people on the planet. So when I can shift out of that scarcity mindset and into recognizing what I do have, I have an incredible little green cheek conure that I get to share my life with. I have my cat Joey, who's around here somewhere. I have this really nice couple sharing and living on the land with me, which was an adjustment, but they're really kind of these good-hearted people. Another person living on this land that works really hard day in and day out to keep this land sort of in a forward momentum of restoring it to health and a joyful setting versus a place that was kind of abused by people before we purchased it and moved to this land. So it's thinking like that. It's recognizing where your abundance is can help cool that fire in your shadow that wants you to move on these scarcity fears. It wants you to get going, and you're saying, and a way to integrate this inner conflict is to recognize and shift your mindset to recognize the abundance you do have. Okay, I know I really said that to death. So what else? What can we know about the circumstance here? What has caused this for you? This need to rest, the feeling of anxiety, the feeling of fear of abandonment, and either losing all your material resources or losing the emotional connections that you feel are important. What are the circumstances that created this fear for you? What does it entail? What are the elements to the conflict for you and your shadow about this? It's really got your shadow wanting you to take action strongly. They're urging you to take action, and you keep trying to kind of subliminate that because you've recognized you need to rest. What has this been about? So it looks like somebody here tried to have start some kind of an endeavor with somebody that they met and encountered in their lives that turned out to be a false person. So this is kind of taps into the subject that we were discussing earlier about someone like Chad Daybell or Rex Hoyerman, who, if Rex's wife Asa if it's true, she didn't know. You know, according to her, she had no idea that she was married to this brutal killer for all these years, right? Same with Tammy Daybell. She apparently didn't know either. So you may have found yourself in a position where you hooked up with someone who turned out to be wearing a mask and wasn't who they seemed, and you were in denial about that. This is and now you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with it. So it's very in keeping with this, and this would explain why your shadow is so infuriated, because it feels tricked, it feels angry and objectified or exploited in some way, and it's trying to get you to do something about it. Like, take action, stand up for, it's like pissed. It's pissed about this, and it's in conflict with you and your need to rest. So let's find out, like, is this need to rest something that you should continue to observe? Or is your shadow something that can help you get moving again here? Because you've been in a scarcity mindset when in reality you are in an abundant position, even though this person tricked you. Although it may be that this person tricked you around finances and you're in conflict about whether they're going to succeed with this theft. I don't know. Let's see here. Something about it has really destabilized your sense of security. You don't feel safe, either monetarily or bodily or both. You're alarmed, and this is why this Knight of Wands is here. So is this Four of Swords a good idea? Like, is resting a good idea right now? Shifting your mindset is being recommended here out of this Five of Swords and scarcity mindset. Oh, I just had some flyers, so I'm going to pull these cards. Okay, so to clarify the Four of Swords here, we have the Ten of Wands, the Seven of Cups, and the World. So things are about to change. This World card is something that is bigger than any person. It's bigger than any of the minor arcana cards. It's energy that is more like out of anyone's personal control. So that can help your shadow to know that. Like, you can reason with your shadow side of you that wants you to go and take action without thinking it through and just get moving to protect yourself. You can reassure your shadow by saying, like, things are going to shift. I don't always have to do everything. I don't always have to be in the warrior mode. Because what's going on here is that there's a little bit of illusory quality and a lot of fatigue on your end. There's been some Seven of Cups. Like, you may feel like a victim of the Seven of Cups energy from this false person. You're really fatigued and battled weary from the Ten of Wands, but the end is in sight with this Ten of Pentacles, and you know that. I don't think your shadow's quite caught on to that. Your higher faculties are trying to urge you to rest for a reason because of this Ten of Wands. You're almost there, though. And what's interesting is with this Ten of Wands, it's the salmon migration. So salmon do rest when they're migrating. They go upstream and they're fighting strong currents, but they take periods of rest in calm pools before they continue on their journey. They know that it's imperative that they carry out their full journey. It's important for the survival of the species. So it is important that you rest. That's what I'm picking up here, because resting is a part of ushering in this new world for you of this abundant and integrated mindset. You have to rest. Your shadow doesn't like it, though. Your shadow may sense that it's nearly over and is trying to say, no, don't rest. Just push through. We're almost there. Push through to the end. But you're exhausted from having to sort out this kind of Seven of Cups energy, which is a tense energy. It's like gluttony, too much of a good thing. This fake person that was maybe lying to you or selling you this vision, and it turned out to be an illusion, right? But what's important for you to know is that these majors here, the Lovers card and the World card, you're already on your way. You're already in the healing process. Your shadow's stinging though, and it's angry and it hurt and it wants justice. That's what I'm feeling here. With this World card, you're going to enter into a new era where maybe this conflict is not even going to be a thing anymore. So resting is okay. It's okay to get clarity. It's okay to rest. Your shadow doesn't like it. Your shadow wants you to protect yourself, but you can do things to soothe your shadow. What is it about this that has your shadow so enraged? What are the qualities about the circumstance? It's probably the deception with this mask, but let's just find out. What is the shadow's Knight of Wands energy? What is the heart of that fire for them? For you, for your shadow. What is this Wolverine's concerns about the circumstances here? What are its top concerns? It's really very worried here and wants you to take quick action. That's what it's urging you to do. Why? What is it worried about? God, crazy. This new start, duplicates here. You're worried that because of this person's falsity, you missed out on something. That's what your shadow's worried about. It's worried that you trusted the wrong person, went into a denial period, and now your shadow's really infuriated that you, and afraid that you've lost already, that you are going to lose the new start that you've been trying to make for yourself in love, potentially. Your shadow's worried that you're going to miss out on it and is trying to urge you to take steps before that happens. It doesn't want you to lose. So that's something that's really wonderful about the IFS model, is that it recognizes that your shadow isn't something to try to push away. It's something that you want to love and listen to and attend to so that you can be integrated as a person. And it's urging you, it's upset that you were deceived, and it wants you to find justice, and it is really upset that you might lose what it feels is a new opportunity or a new chance or a start in love. I'm going to pull some text cards to see. But the truth, don't forget, here's some flyers that came out. The truth is this is what's the truth. This is the foundational way to integrate these energies, is you are in an abundant place. Your shadow may not realize that. It's worried that you're going to miss out. It's tapping into your own heart's anxieties about being left out, which can also be based in shadow's concerns, right? So that's going to be helpful, is just to know. I'm hoping your shadow is listening to this reading and understanding that it makes sense. It makes sense that it's upset. It's trying to protect you. It wants you to protect yourself. It's maybe going about it in ways that are difficult for you and why you're feeling this inner conflict. What else is going on here? Keep the torch lit. You're about to experience this integration. But yeah, fighting for justice is the heart of this matter. And that fiery fighting for justice is what this shadow side of you is trying to get you to do. It's great. I love readings like this. This is really... So what else, though? The World card and the Lovers card. There's things happening that are bigger than you. So that's okay. That can help your shadow know that you're not doing this alone. Like fate or energy or... the mysteries are on your side, right? They're helping you usher in this new era. This World card with this new beginning card from the Kipper and the the Kipper and the Lenormand coming up twice is really good. It's a really positive omen. Let's be grateful and extend gratitude to your shadow for trying so hard to protect you. It's really worried that you're gonna sleep on this and miss out because you're too preoccupied with resting. And it wants you to fulfill its mission of getting justice for yourself about the situation. What else should you know? Find and be with your loyal and devoted community of support. So that's that 10 of Pentacles. Connect with the people you do trust. Connect and get the support in the rest that you need. That can be a part of taking care of this fiery part of you. If it's seen and understood and validated by some friends, it can help it feel less worried. Like you're not going to forget that you need justice here. You're not going to sleep on it. Get the support of your friends. And what universal story or myth is manifest here? And to me, what universal story is manifest here is trickster. You ended up having an encounter with a trickster, and it was a negative aspect of trickster energy. It's the shadow side of trickster energy, which tricked you, perhaps tried to steal from you, was deceptive and caused harm. It caused you to be in a wounded place. What else? I'm going to just try to see if we can figure out what happened. What happened? Who is the deceiver here? What did this deceiver do? What was the quality of the deception? Regardless, you need to take comfort. This is, I hope the rest of the reading is comforting so far. But who is the deceiver? I don't want to spend too much time on them because those readings get really intense. They're helpful to people, I know, but I don't always want to be reading about toxic dynamics, right? That's not always very fun, but it's helpful. If you're trying to leave toxic dynamics, card readings can be helpful for that. So who is the deceiver? What happened? Who was the trickster that tricked you? Or what were their qualities of the trickery? Oh my God, this card. Okay. So Pisces energy. Pisces is a water sign in an aspect that can be deceptive and trickery and illusory, and that's coming through here. It was an illusion that showed up in a deceptive package. I'm just going to read the description because it's really good for this card, but it's the 10 degrees of Pisces. Stately and with beguiling eye, the swan glides carelessly along towards the object of his amorous desire, but this will last scarcely longer than the trail of his passage over the lake which he is crossing. This is a card of instability and fickleness in love. It represents double dealing and love for the sake of gain. Yep, this is exactly what this just said. It was a very hopeful beginning for you. This person was not reliable. They tricked you. Not only were they not reliable, they tricked you. In illness, it denotes vitality. Oh no, okay. It often indicates pleasant things or events, but that are of short duration. So you may have thought this new beginning was going to be everything with this beautiful deceiver, right? What else? What is the other quality of this deceptive person? This is a super interesting North and South Node card from this deck, and which captures these qualities of ourselves. This is a great card to show up here in this shadow reading. The North and South Nodes really represent that part of you. Those parts of you, I mean. So where is that card in here? Okay. In the greenish light, scarcely illuminated by the pale crescent of the waning moon, a shapeless monster of serpentine form sinks deeper and deeper in a slimy, unwholesome, and miry substance. This card turned towards the dragon tail, which is how it showed up here. indicates hidden and mysterious things from which escape is difficult. It represents worries and troubles of every kind. It is the sign of something chronic and is not fortunate for emotions. So this person really did a number on you, and I'm so sorry. And it makes all the sense in the world to me why your shadow is so activated and wanting so much for you to defend yourself, stand up for yourself, get justice, keep fighting, fight back, keep going. It doesn't want you to rest. You need to rest though. Yes, it's important that you keep going and obtain justice for yourself. You are starting to get the clarity that you need, but you're recognizing the sorrow and the rest that's needed after a betrayal like this. Your shadow is like, we don't have time to be sad. We need to get justice. But we can soothe your shadow and say, yeah, thank you for lighting my fire and not letting me forget that I need to seek justice here, but we need to rest or we're not going to be able to keep going. That's the kind of negotiating you can do with your shadow. Recognizing what you do have going for you, finding the people who do truly support you and who are not illusory, trickster, tricksy type people. This is a very, very serious trickster. This is like someone that you can feel like destroyed your life kind of energy. So it makes sense that it came up in a reading like this about when we're talking about policing, serial killers, family, sleeping with the enemy, right? All these themes of betrayal are really coming through here. So I'm glad I did this reading. What's something for you to know of hope about this? What is the hopeful message about this layout? It's been a really sorrowful, sobering experience for you. There's a new world coming of abundance for you, so hang on to that. But you're not out of the woods yet, it's obvious. And your shadow's trying to keep you going while you're needing to rest. That's why there's this inner conflict. What's the hope? Negotiation and advocacy. So being willing to negotiate with the other parties involved here, or your shadow, right? Like negotiating with your shadow. Like, I get it. You want us to charge forward. You want to fight. You want to get justice for us, but we need to rest. Like, that's that kind of theme that we were just talking about. It's the first card in the deck. So it's important that that's the key. It's like a key card almost, is what it's feeling like. Many of us believe we are being fair and just, but is it simply our beliefs and our filters that make us feel somehow righteous? Seek balance and create greater focus on equality in what you are doing by silencing your inner voice and personal views for a moment. So just take it easy in there, shadow side. Is this real? Is this really fair? And does it take into account longer term possibilities, not only for others, but also yourself? So your shadow might be trying to urge you to do stuff that you haven't weighed out, whether it's really a wise approach. So this is the advice for that. Cooling your shadow, right? So, and negotiating with it so that you can then harness its energy from a wise place. Clear space to listen to your shadow. And then the Advocate, card 32. Time for teamwork, enlisting the help of others, and a little bit of fact-finding. By all means, speak up, but brush up on your communication skills by pausing to listen until you're certain that your message will be taken in the right context and be as effective as possible. If you're stuck, then you need to reevaluate your commitments. The Advocate is dedicated to change for the greater good, and they will create a life that revolves around this. Those in their sphere are thought of as team and family members working with them in all sorts of capacities for the shared vision. So finding your loyal community of support that you do trust, connecting with them, getting their support and their wisdom, remembering your community. You don't have to fight this battle by yourself, right? You can pursue justice while you have the support of trusted allies and advocates around you. You didn't lose everything. That's what it's saying. You still have a lot of power. This was disempowering, but you're going to make a comeback. So I think that'll do it for this layout. Thank you for being here. Excuse me, keep an eye out for upcoming readings and the surprise specific. I need to do another Scorpio reading too here soon. So thank you. And thank you for the support. Oh, ouch.